Hello friends, James Stevenson here with your guided tour of all the charts I made comparing Tesla's 2024 against Ford and GM along with the preceding 8 years for context. Let's check in with my co-host Loki, who helped me make all 12 of the charts that I posted to a thread on X I'm about to walk you through right now. So you can get my thoughts that weren't expressed in the thread that I began. Yes, Tesla's deliveries fell slightly in 2024, but Ford and GM remind us it could always be worse. Here's chart one. So Ford and GM used to both sell more than 6 million cars per year. And when I talk about their deliveries, remember that they have joint ventures in China where they are silent investor partners, 50-50 joint venture partners where they're contributing like brands to the Chinese market. And it's a Chinese owned and managed company designing the products, hiring the workforce that makes them, building the line, assembling the products, and selling them. GM and Ford aren't doing much to count those as being their deliveries, but sometimes they report them in their numbers. So you have to be very careful when you go looking for data on deliveries, like I have to occasionally. These are only sales of vehicles manufactured by Ford and GM employees at Ford and GM factories. They call those wholesale deliveries because they're the deliveries to the dealerships who then have to try to sell those Ford and GM cars to unsuspecting customers who think they're getting a quality product. All right. So, how have their sales been trending since 2016? They're both down a lot. They both hit these lows in 2020 and 2021, blaming COVID and a chip shortage for their poor deliveries. But as you can see here, even though they've been growing their deliveries since the low of 2021, they haven't grown them a lot, and they haven't grown them anything close to back to the levels they were selling vehicles at 8 or 9 years ago. So that's important to know. What's Tesla been doing over that time period? Growing every year except 2024. 2024 was nearly as many deliveries as 2023. So the trend is good. The reason Tesla didn't beat 2023 was mostly Q1. Q1 was a very poor quarter for Tesla in 2024 last year. The fourth quarter deliveries number was an all-time record high for any quarter ever. So if that trend continues into 2025, we'll see record highs again, barring misfortune, barring force majeure, or your favorite Tesla Q members theory for why the growth story is over and a demand cliff is coming, etc. All right, let's get to the next chart, or else we'll be here all day. Over the past 8 years, their wholesale deliveries to dealerships have declined by about 2.2 million vehicles per year apiece. I've got some charts here that show the story that way. So growth or decline in vehicles sold in 2024 versus 2016. So you just take the 2024 deliveries number and you subtract the 2016 deliveries number. And in the case of Ford and GM, that's a negative number. That's about 2.2 million vehicles. In the case of Tesla, it's a positive number. A little over 1.7 million more vehicles were sold by Tesla in 2024 than Tesla sold in 2016, is the sentence that goes with that number. What's this other one doing? It's the revenue growth or decline. Tesla's revenue has grown by 91 billion with a B dollars from what it was in 2016 when they were only selling Model S and Model X. Ford and GM have, to their credit, managed to grow their revenue despite their deliveries having declined by this much. How did they do that? Mostly it was by discontinuing passenger sedans. They've stopped making a lot of the models they used to sell in 2016 because they didn't make very much profit per unit. And what they've been doing since then is charging higher and higher prices on the trucks and SUVs that remain in their lineup. And that's not a secret. They've been telling their investors that that is their strategy, to focus more on big trucks and big SUVs where they can charge over 70 grand for a product that's not really that great because for whatever reason the market will bear those higher prices. So that's how they've been growing revenues despite lower volumes. What else do we have here? 2024 may have been the final year with Tesla revenue less than 100 billion. Or I could be wrong and we'll have more. Maybe in 2025 Tesla still won't break the $100 billion revenue level, but there's reason to be optimistic. One of those, not the least of which, is that the Tesla Energy division has been growing revenue pretty substantially. Automotive revenue was down for Tesla from 2023 to 2024. A lot of folks got a great deal in 2024 on a new Tesla using referral program credits, as was pointed out by Brian White when I did my interview with him a week ago, and just a lot of discounting and inventory model discounts, those sorts of things. A lot more of that happened in 2024 than in 2023. So the automotive revenue was down some, but Tesla's selling more Megapacks than ever, and they also hit records for Powerwall deliveries in 2024. This year, we can look forward to the China Megafactory. They just built a Megapack factory in China. It's going to open and start selling large-scale grid storage solutions to utility-scale users of batteries. So if you've got a lot of solar panels or wind farms, and the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, what you need is a whole lot of batteries so that you can store the excess electrical power generated by those so that you can sell it during your off-peak times. So Tesla Energy will be growing in 2025. That's my prediction. You can book it. And even though Tesla's revenue is still nowhere near Ford or GM's level, Tesla still earned more profit. I'm using GAAP net income as my profit metric here because if you use anything else, these other companies may be making adjustments to the number that aren't like for like. So if you want an apples to apples profit comparison, you have to use GAAP net income, even though, for example, in 2023, this number was propped up for Tesla by $5.93 billion worth of one-time tax favorability due to the rollover of these losses from prior years against their tax liability back in 2023. So that's the reason why this peak year happened on the chart. If you knock $6 billion off this number, it would be down here, right? Somewhere in this range. So that's what's been the trend over the past couple of years if you were to throw that one-time item out. But this number, this small number compared to these bigger ones, is still more than this number from GM or this number from Ford, who sold more vehicles and had more revenue, right? Tesla managed to have more profit. How on earth could they have done that? By having more profit per vehicle, which is the next chart. It's even more impressive on a per vehicle sold basis where Tesla's profit has exceeded $5,000 per vehicle for 4 straight years, a feat neither Ford nor GM has achieved even once in the past 9 years. So you look at these charts here, and what are they telling you? They're telling me profits are not all that reliable if you're an investor in Ford or GM. You might get a profit or you might get a loss the profit you get might be a very small number. And well, I guess GM only had 1 year where they had a loss, and it was 2017, and that's crazy because they sold so many more vehicles that year. I don't know what the story is behind how they were able to lose money on a per vehicle basis back then. Maybe it was all those sedans that they have since discontinued that they used to sell. But this number, which looks impressive next to the rest of these, was only due to a Rivian gain from an investment Ford made in Rivian. I do remember this story from 2021 because it reversed the following year in 2022. This loss would have been a positive number if not for the Rivian impairment Ford had to take against their other income, which goes above the GAAP net income line in both of these years. So this one's artificially high and this one's artificially low. Otherwise, it would have been more like every other short bar you see on their chart. And GM not looking so great. Like, what's shocking here is how well they did on a profit per vehicle basis in the year they sold the fewest vehicles. Like, maybe what GM should do is figure out, hey, what was our sales mix back in 2021? Let's just sell that mix every year and we'll make more profit per vehicle than we made every other year. Here's Tesla's chart. Tesla used to lose money. Tesla doesn't lose money anymore. Tesla makes money now. So good stuff there. All right. And before ending the thread, here are the data tables. So you can pause the video here and read every last one of these numbers if you want. I'm just giving you a screenshot from my spreadsheet where I punched all these in. Why would anyone want to see these numbers? Because it's hard to track them all down. Like, they don't all live in an easy to get place. I've been collecting these numbers over the years as each of these companies reports their earnings in PowerPoint decks and PDFs and press release websites. And you have to punch them into your own spreadsheet if you want to keep them neatly and tidily next to each other. Tesla was still losing money 8 years ago. Almost no other EV maker has figured out how to make any profit at all selling them. Let me know if you know which EV makers who only make EVs are profitable, right? Like BYD is profitable, but they also make a bunch of other stuff, including battery cells that Tesla buys from them. I'm sure they're making a profit selling batteries, right? Almost no other automaker has figured out how to make a profit at all, but Tesla has turned those big losses we saw back in 2016 and 2017 into big profits, while Ford and GM have not. Check out this chart. You can see on the chart, Tesla has increased their net income in millions of dollars by $7,766 million. Or $7.8 billion almost. Ford is up $1.3 billion almost if you look at the 2024 net income number versus the 2016 net income number. GM is down $3.4 billion. Their earnings got worse by $3.4 billion in 2024 versus what they actually delivered in 2016. That's a little nutty. And then over here on this side, you can see net income or loss per unit sold. Neither of them has changed the amount of profit they're making per vehicle by very much. GM only by $11. You can barely see this bar here. It's a line and not a bar for them. Ford is making $625 per vehicle more net income per unit sold in 2024 than they were making in 2016. But I mean, that's not a lot of improvement over a 9-year span. Whereas Tesla has turned losses into profits, up almost $13,000. So that's that chart. We're almost to the end of the thread. I did throw in 2 more bonus line charts for everybody. Only one cash pile is growing steadily. Can you Can you spot which one it is? It's easy to spot. I changed the color scheme for the line charts, so Tesla would be a red line instead of a white line. Some people sometimes don't like it when you make something red unless it's supposed to be negative, but I think it's fine to make Tesla red. They were white on all the previous bars that we saw. But this is cash and cash equivalents, which are the kinds of assets on your balance sheet that you can immediately turn into cash. So that includes bank deposits in interest-bearing accounts, CDs, etc. There's always a market for those. You can easily turn them into cash same day if necessary. But two debt piles are getting larger. Can you spot the two debt piles getting larger? Here they are. It is Ford and GM. Ford is up over $100 billion worth of long-term debt, and GM is up to 90 now. How did they start out so well back here in 2010? It's because they went bankrupt in 2008 and they got all of their debts wiped out in bankruptcy court. They came out of bankruptcy filings with the assistance of the US government and no debt. And they've been adding to their debt steadily since then. Now, this long-term debt number does include their financing division, but financing division debt isn't risk-free. Yes, there are receivables offsetting most of these amounts for both of these companies, but that doesn't always help, as evidenced by GM actually declaring bankruptcy not all that long ago. I mean, 17 years ago isn't the ancient past. I'm sure a lot of the same folks who were working there then are still working there now. What's Tesla's debt doing? Well, it was up for a while, and then it was down to nothing at the end of 2021 when Zach Kirkhorn was the CFO. He may have taken Elon literally when Elon said, I don't want any debt. He may have said, okay, we'll pay down absolutely all of the debt. But when you go to MBA school, as I did, they teach you that most companies carry some debt all the time because it's just easier to run your company that way. And it's looked upon favorably to have some debt and some revolving credit facilities that you can access at any time if you need it. Sometimes it makes it easier to not need to hedge against foreign currency risk if you can borrow and repay in foreign currencies. If you're not doing that, yeah, you have no debt, but you do have the added risk of those foreign currencies. Stuff like that are the reasons why almost no matter how healthy a company's balance sheet you look at, they do have long-term debt. There's almost no companies I'm aware of that carry nothing for debt, with only a handful of examples out there. So Tesla is back to, what is that, 5 or 6 billion worth of long-term debt, a teeny tiny fraction of the cash they have on hand, which is the point, right? Tesla has way more cash on hand than they have long-term debt. Ford and GM have way less cash on hand than they have long-term debt. So one of those is in a stronger financial position than the other. I'll let you figure that out for yourself, or you can go read any good book on on valuation. And that's the end of the thread. I've noticed that a lot of people do put this at the end of their long threads. Hey, here's a link back up to the top, and it must work. So I decided to do that this time by giving people a link back up to the top, and I explained it as, hey, if you join the thread partway through due to a retweet or a repost, and you didn't get to see all the charts, here's your quick link back to the top where you can see all the charts. And that's my video for this week, unless Loki has anything to add. Loki in the Loki cam is still... I see his ear up. All right. Well, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate your support. All of you who support me, whether you're doing that on X or on Patreon or on YouTube. And make sure you're following me so you get more updates like this one. And a special shout out to my two executive producers, Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com. And I'll see you in the next one.